Hello and welcome to some more Starters and patch notes for the 3.0 AP patch. There was some issues with spawning ships with this patch, with it taking ages to load the ship in, and some bugs as well with that. Also, turrets protecting the stations seem to have been temporarily disabled. Stability seems to have been a focus for this patch as well, with servers and performance being pretty damn good. I've had a solid 25 plus frames, even with a lot going on, even with full servers, with players all around me spawning ships in. Outposts have had the ability to spawn ships disabled, as we know last time. You can still spawn ground vehicles at outposts on moons, but at the moment you can't spawn ships or purchase items there. But you can still use Grimhex, Port Olisar and Levski to their full extent, spawn ships there, buy commodities, all that sort of jazz. And with this in mind, this patch actually has the first implementation of the dynamic inventory and pricing. So locations now have variable pricing that will fluctuate over time based on stock levels and restock rates. It's still a work in progress and only implemented at the moment at Grimhex, Port Olisar and Levski. So mission stuff, failing an escort mission due to friendly fire now requires you to friendly fire twice before you fail. And they've added a minimum jump distance to interdiction, so the quantum disruption, to avoid alerts popping up immediately after starting the jump animation. Gaining an initial invite to the mission giver Ruto or Eckhart missions should now be easier as well. They've enabled the VMA, the Vehicle Manager app, item preview and fixed some issues with item previews on the PMA as well. They shifted some ship health to shield health. IFCS improvements to increase rotational stability have been done. There should no longer be commodity kiosks at Levski that lack ship destinations. They've repaired the pilot seat animations on the 300 series. There's been some fixes for several ships that behaved erratically when near surfaces, including the Scythe, the Vanguard, the Akatu Al, the Herald, and the Glaive. The player should now die as expected when their ship explodes while in a powered off state. They fixed a small reflective light on the canopy of the Scythe and Glaive. They fixed ships despawning shortly after the player exited. Co-pilots should no longer break the pilot ship control if they enter first. They've removed a ladder at the Caterpillar space derelict that was blocking access to some of the mission objectives. The black box recovery missions on Selin should no longer fail shortly after accepting them. They've removed the debug text from the Gladius HUD. There's been a fix for some weapons not having their sights attached when equipped through the PMA. They fixed an issue that caused mission deliveries to outposts to be impossible to complete. Elements of the combat visor should no longer be missing after the pilot exits the seat. They've enabled scrollable description windows on the VMA and fixed various visual issues. AI ships spawning for environmental missions should no longer spawn on top of one another. A ship's owner using the bed logout should no longer leave the passengers in an unplayable state. Ships should once again be able to target one another in Arena Commander. There's been a fix for the Cutlass not flying correctly in a straight line. Outposts should now be able to detect when a landing pad is in use by a ship before spawning a vehicle. Logging out of a planet's surface from a ship's bed should no longer cause the ship to respawn underneath the surface when logging back on. They've corrected some dialogue issues with escort missions. Players should now be able to swap and equip gimbals on the VMA. The Calico helmet should now have its HUD back. Repeatedly opening and closing the mobiGlass while in EVA should no longer break your character. And there's been various fixes for crashes and performance tweaks as well. This patch would actually be really good if it didn't have the spawn ship bug, which renders it annoyingly unplayable while you have to constantly try and deploy your ship, constantly go to different pads and try and deploy them, because what seems to be happening is it thinks the pads are full, or it doesn't remove the ships from the ATC properly, or something like that's going on. So there'll be a hotfix pretty quick, but it's other than the unplayability, because you have to keep on trying to spawn your ship, which can take a long time, it would genuinely be really good if it wasn't for that. Also, the launcher was updated, so now we have the RSI launcher 1.alpha.31. The launcher window composition is now solid. This should reduce the amount of GPU waste composition cycles when idle. The launcher will now minimize and restore its window automatically when a game session starts and ends. Base application bag is now an optional phase per game release, and it can be disabled. The game channel selector can now be disabled during the patching process. They accelerated the rate calculations and refresh of the initial download download state view. They fixed some stuff as well. Muting the sound system in the launcher will now totally dismount audio tracks from memory. The application icon on the taskbar will now properly turn off its green progress state once the patch is complete. Tonight at 8 PM UTC is the Squadron 42 ATV special over at twitch.tv/Star Citizen. And it's one you won't want to miss. There should be some pretty cool stuff there. You'll be able to see what they've got planned for the way that Star Citizen's going to look. I know it's Squadron 42, the single-player campaign, but obviously these games are 1,000,000,000% connected. I will get a summary up of that ASAP afterwards too, so please check that out. That's 8 PM UTC, and I believe it goes on for 2 hours. Every month we have a giveaway for a ship for December. It's for the extra massive Orion mining vessel donated by our featured org, Self-Made, an organisation looking at all types of gameplay with kind of a lawful, neutral, slightly anti-pirate stance, and focusing on developing yourself as a character and individual in-game and kind of not being a dick to other players. Links below if you're interested in joining them. They're active now, but will also be active for Alpha 3.0 and beyond. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and then comment on one of my Star Citizen videos during that particular month. Do you have any questions for me about Alpha 3.0, about the patch notes, about PTU, about Squadron 42, Star Citizen development in general? Chuck them in the comments below. A special thank you to my Patreons who allow me to create the amount of content I do. If you're interested in becoming one of them, you can find the links to Patreon as well as everything else we discussed down below. Thanks so much, guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help me, and I'll see you in the verse.